This is the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose, where I strategize with business owners on how to grow and scale their businesses to hit their income goals. This is episode 210 of the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose. Today, I'm diving into how to stop being complacent. And I know after the year that we had in 2020, it seems like that might come off a little harsh, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be totally honest with you during this episode. I got really complacent, and I know a lot of us did. And you know what? If that's what we needed to do in order to survive, then that's fine. But I'm here to tell you that it's time to get up and let's start hitting those goals and what our expectations are for ourselves starting today. It is 2021. We are going to do and move forward so that we can make the best year that this can possibly be for us. And in order to do that, we need to have a plan in place. And that's exactly what I'm going to give you today. Now, before we jump into that, I want to make sure that you head over to the show notes because this episode is being sponsored by my free How to Create Your Own Product That Sells starter guide. We're going to be talking about revenue streams in this episode. And if you do not have a product or service of your own yet, then you absolutely need to grab this starter guide. It is absolutely free. It is going to give you a checklist of things that you need to do. It's going to walk you through how to create that sales funnel for yourself so that it actually can convert. This is what you need in order to get started. Don't be scared off by the fact that you don't have another product or service. And you're going to hear in this episode why it is so important to have diversity in your revenue streams and how you can actually take a look in order to move this forward. So I want you to make sure that when you are done listening to this episode or when you have a chance to make sure that you go over and grab that starter guide absolutely free so that you can really start brainstorming what this is going to look like for you in 2021. All right, you guys, let's really dive into this. So now the first thing that we need to really talk about is that 2020 was so hard in so many ways. But what I really started to realize is that I allowed myself to become complacent. Yes, we got hit with all sorts of crazy things. We went into shutdown mode and the kids came home and they had to be homeschooled. And then my family was crazy enough to think, let's build a house in the middle of a pandemic. And then when we finally moved into that brand new house, we had movers who ended up giving us COVID. So my entire family tested positive for it and my girls missed again, more school. We had to quarantine. They missed Halloween. And it was a tough time. Above, of course, as well as not knowing if there's going to be toilet paper, on top of also not knowing what the election was going to turn out and look like. So there's been a lot of stressors. And if some of you have felt like a turtle, where you just wanted to pop your head in and stay inside your turtle shell, I get it. And I give you permission to have done that. I don't want you to feel guilty about that. I did that. I don't feel guilty. It was survival mode. It was a need for me to really start to understand what was going on in my world and how we were going to be able to function with the new way that things looked for us at that time. So that's the very first phase of this. Now, before we really get in further with this, I want to define what complacent means. And for me, being complacent is going through the motions or doing the bare minimum I need to succeed. It does not mean that I shut down and I stopped working on my business. That is not the case. It does not mean that I wasn't still offering and working with clients and putting together masterminds and putting together new products. But what it does mean is that I was doing the bare minimum in order for it to continue to succeed. And there wasn't a ton of new creativity and inspired projects that were going on. There was a lot of, you'll probably notice on the podcast, there were a lot of interviews that happened during that time. And that's because I was in survival mode. I had gotten complacent in order to survive in that, what it was at that time of having a house full of people and it not being quiet enough to be able to record a podcast episode. So in a year that was absolutely insane, and one where I'm fortunate to still have a thriving business, a healthy family, and strong relationships with the people who were quarantined with me, my husband and my children, that are still, we're all on good page here. When the people close to me, we need to just decide to stop being complacent. And that was what I needed to do. I needed to understand that it was time to go back to being awesome, right? Let's be honest. It comes down to that sometimes. I definitely just did the bare minimum and just kind of waited around to see what was going to happen. But now I've decided, probably actually more like 2 months ago, I decided that it was time that I was going to do my thing, regardless of what was going to happen, regardless of who was going to become president and what that was going to look like, regardless if we go back into another shutdown, I am going to be able to overcome it because I already did. So that is the very first thing. Now, I'm going to talk you through a blueprint of what you can actually do to make sure that you are not being complacent this year. Now, the first thing I want you to do is you have to acknowledge this past year was hard and be grateful for what you do have. You have to be able to give yourself some grace with this. It was not easy. I'm not going to try to tell you that 2020, it was a breeze. And I forgot to mention in the beginning too, I had a conference that was supposed to be in person with over 100 attendees. I turned it into virtual 2 weeks beforehand. It was rough. So many of us. And I was fortunate that we were able to stay healthy and none of my family was hospitalized because of COVID. So keeping those things in mind and being grateful for those things is the very first thing that we definitely need to do. Then we need to step over those things and we're going to move on to the second step because now this is where I'm going to have you actually do some work. So I want you to take a look at your numbers for 2020. And when I'm talking about numbers, I'm talking about revenue numbers. What did you make in ad money? What did you make in affiliate income? What did you make for a product or membership site or course or book that you have? What were your revenue streams? And I want you to notice the exact revenue streams. So you're probably going to have to go back if your books aren't that great and you're not calculating all of this. You're going to go back. I want you to compile a list of these numbers to really take a look and see what those revenue streams were and what produced the most. Because for some of you, you might be surprised to see that, hey, my ad revenue kind of took a huge dip because of everything that was going on, but I created a product or I pushed a product that I already had, and that actually picked up steam for me and was actually my number one resource of revenue. So I want you to really take a look at your numbers. Go back and do this. I know that this might seem tedious, but I'm telling you, it is what you need to do in order to make sure that you are moving forward for 2021. Okay, the next thing that I want you to do is decide if you expect similar revenue, lower, or even higher in those revenue streams. So did you put out a new ebook in August and it brought in $1,000 total, let's say, for 2020? Are you going to now have more months with that ebook? Do you have a funnel set up for it? I'm going to walk you through some of the questions that you can ask to see if you can improve those revenue streams. But I want you to take a look and really think about, when did this product come out? When did I start promoting this? Could my revenue go up? Some of you are probably thinking, well, my ad revenue was terrible because we took a huge hit. Well, let's expect that RPMs are going to go up and you're going to get a somewhat similar, your page views may be around the same, might take a little bit of a dip because there's not as many people hopefully online as they were. I don't know if I should totally say hopefully, but I'm saying hopefully we're not in quarantine stuck with nothing else to do but go on our computers and phones is what I meant by that. But so I want you to take a look and see, okay, is this something that I could see increasing? So let's say, for example, last February, you really started to pay attention to SEO and your page views started to go up. Are you seeing that trajectory continuing to increase so that you could expect your ad revenue to increase? And get an idea on where you feel like that revenue, how much it could actually increase. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is to put down a goal revenue and see if you can get your numbers to match up. So in other words, if last year you did $45,000 in revenue across your revenue streams, ads, affiliates, sponsors, hopefully your own products. And if not, again, make sure that you go get that starter guide if you don't have a product or service yet. That is the fastest way to increase your revenue if you can add a new revenue stream. So I want you to take a look at those numbers and see if you can't get them to match up with the products that you already have, the revenue streams that you already have. If you made $45,000 last year in 2020, are you hoping to make $100,000? Or are you looking to make $85,000? Decide on that revenue goal number. And again, if this is your first year in business, you may not have other numbers to compare to. But if it's not your first year in business, go back to 2019 and 2018 and look to see what your revenue streams were. Can you expect everything to continue to go in an upwards trajectory and therefore be able to say, yep, I made 45, now I'm going to do 100,000 this year? And if so, then what you need to do is get those revenue streams to equal that 100,000. So that if your ads did, out of that 45, you had ads doing 25 of it, can you expect that ad revenue to also take a huge trajectory increase and get up to 50 so that you're that much closer to the 100,000. So you need to get your numbers to match up to see where you're going to need to put the most effort into. So if you're telling me that you're expecting your ad revenue to double from 25 to 50, then you're probably going to need to make sure that you're paying a ton of attention to SEO, right? You got to make sure that you're ranking on page 1. You need to make sure that you're getting an increase in page views so that ad revenue money can go up. So that is the next step to take a look at, is to really make sure that you can get those numbers to match up to that. Now, this is where, if you have looked at this, you had 45, you expected to make it 100, and now you're looking at your numbers and going, yeah, I'm going to be short about 20,000 here. There's no way I can expect my ads to go from 25 to 75 and me still be able to hit that 100. So now what I want you to do is ask yourself a couple different questions, because we need to create a plan for how you are going to get to that 100,000 that you've put down. It's not just a magic number that I want to get to 100,000 and you don't have a plan to get there. It's great. I am a true believer in manifesting. You've probably heard me talk about it in other episodes, but you have to have a plan to actually get to that. It's not just something, I wish upon a star and it's going to happen. You have to actually put in the work to get there. So these are the questions that I want you to ask yourself in order to create your plan. So what do you need in order to get to that 100,000? Do you need to increase your list? Do you need to have more email subscribers so that you can send them more information about your products and services and therefore those increase? Or do you need more people on your list so that you can send them an email about your latest post that is out? And therefore that's going to increase your page views because you're getting people on it from your newsletter. Next question to ask yourself: do you need a stronger funnel? So this is especially important if you have a product or service. And again, I'm going to really drive this home today. If you don't have a product or service, I need you to start one. Not even think about one. I need you to start one. You need to figure out another way to create a revenue stream. You cannot simply rely on page views, affiliates, and sponsors. That is not going to get it done. You're never going to see that 100,000 if you just rely on that, especially if we continue to take the hits that we took in 2020 on our ads, on sponsored income, because brands didn't have as much money as they did before with COVID. So Really take a look. Do you need a stronger funnel? Do you need to make sure that the opt-in is in line and that you have an email sequence that actually generates into it with a tripwire product that people want and need that solves that problem? And then I need you to think about, are you actually going to be launching a new product or service? So if you're someone sitting, listening to me thinking, crap, I don't have a product or service. Hello, this is your wake-up call. This is your conscience talking to you. I need you to create a new product or service. You need to have one. You are solving a problem. You are driving people to your website. You have a social media following. You have an audience. Stop just relying on Pinterest and SEO to drive traffic to get ad money. Let's add another revenue stream. So again, make sure that you haven't already grabbed that starter guide. Go and get it. It is going to get you started. Okay, so we've talked about if you're going to be launching a new product or service. Then I also want you to think about, will you run flash sales? Will that be part of what you're going to be able to do within your business? So I have numerous clients that will do a flash sale every month on one of their products or services that they have. And this way it gets the people that have been on their list for a while, it gets that product in front of them again. Because as you've probably heard me say millions of times at this point, people need to be introduced to something 7 times before they're going to take any action. So if you're not routinely putting it back in front of them, they're never going to remember, oh yeah, she had that great ebook that I had wanted to get but didn't get. Or she had that great cookbook that she self-published that I wanted to get but didn't get. You need to get it back in front of them. You need to be talking about it and really taking a look and creating an editorial calendar for how you're going to be driving revenue is how you're able to organize all of this for the flash sales. So that is the next piece of what you need to do. You need to create a monthly calendar to determine what you'll be focusing on product-wise so that you can create relevant content prior to that month. So if you're getting ready to do a flash sale on an ebook that you created about salads, then you probably prior to that could create some salad dressing recipe where you can talk about, oh, wait until you see this great thing that's going to be coming. We're going to be doing a promo soon on my ebook about salads. Have it connected. Don't randomly just throw things out there like you're throwing spaghetti against the wall to see if it's going to stick. Let's actually have a plan in mind. And you want to think about this starting at your calendar and looking at it as your revenue streams. Okay. So if you have a calendar, get a calendar out in front of you. And I want you to look from January all the way to December of 2021. And I want you to tell me what it is that you're going to be focusing on. Literally, pick up your phone and tag me at Jenny_Melrose or send me a DM and tell me what it is that you're going to be focusing on. I'm going to hold you accountable, just like I do all my coaching clients when I give them homework and action items after they're done with a coaching session with me. They always get homework, and so are you. So I want you to send me a DM. Tell me what that looks like for you, what products you're going to be able to really focus on throughout the months. And there should be something, especially if you're thinking about doing flash sales, maybe every other month or even every month. There is a focus in my business every single month, product-wise, revenue stream-wise. What is it that I'm trying to make sure that my people know about? So that is what I want you to make sure that you look at. Now, once you have that editorial calendar just kind of written out real quick, you've got January through December. I literally write the word January, here's my product. February, here's the product. March, all throughout 2021, that is what you are doing, looking at it. Just list the months and list the product next to it. It's that simple. Then what you're going to do is you're going to, with that in mind, you're going to get your email calendar and social media calendar in line with the promotions that you are looking to run. So in other words, if I am going to be pushing that salad ebook that I talked about, I'm creating content that would easily connect to it. For example, that salad dressing recipe, and I'm going to make sure that that's in my editorial email calendar to go out to my list about the salad dressing. And what I'm going to also do is when I send them that, I'm going to say, P.S., don't forget to grab my salad ebook. And I may Even if I'm doing a flash sale, would say in that email to them, instead of saying, grab the ebook, I'm going to say, P.S., keep an eye out because we're going to be running a really great promo if you love salads. And that's when those flash sale emails will then come through about the salad. It lets them know that something is coming and it's connected. I'm not going in and creating content that's about hummus and dips and appetizers, and then I'm going to try to promote a salad ebook, unless, of course, there's hummus used in your salad. Then fine, I get the connection. But you want it to be connected so that your emails are in line with it, and then so is your social media. This does take a little bit of actually organization. Now, the great thing about this is that you can easily organize it. You can use Google Spreadsheets. You can use Airtable. You can use Trello or Asana, whatever productivity or kind of guide that you want to use in order to keep you organized. Do that. You should have your business organized at this point so that it's easy to kind of connect it and to know what you're going to be promoting in your business. That is one of the things that I always stress with you guys. Throughout my book, Influencer Entrepreneurs, that 4-step framework really talks about the fact that you need to treat your business like a business. You cannot do this on a whim. You cannot put out content on just a whim and think, oh, this is going to stick. Think about what you're actually looking to promote. If it's going into Valentine's Day and you are a DIY and a crafter and you are going to do some Valentine stuff, you need to do that ahead of time. We know that. We know that once it's in the stores, we're supposed to be talking about it. So you have to plan. There is no business in this world that just says, you know what? It's January 23rd. I'm going to promote tomorrow this great new thing, and then puts it up the next day and just promotes it one time. That it's not going to do well. It is going to fall on its face. It's going to flop. So having this plan in mind for what you will be promoting, when you will be promoting it, is going to get you organized and able to do this so much easier and simpler than ever before. All right. I know I gave you a lot of information and I also gave you homework. So I expect my DMs to start blowing up with what it is that you're going to be promoting. And if you don't have something to promote and you're really not sure what that should look like, send me a DM. Let's talk about it. I want to have these conversations with you guys to get you start thinking about where can I take my business? That is the greatest part of being an entrepreneur. There is no glass ceiling. You decide. You decide what products and services to put out there. You decide whether or not you're going to continue to be complacent. You decide what your business is going to look like. So I really, truly hope that you take this to heart and put some action. Get into action and make it happen for yourself, because that is the only way it is going to happen. You cannot just speculate on these numbers and go, they'll happen. It'll happen when it's ready. It's just going to magically happen because I put that number out there. No, you need to do the work. You need to create the plan that we just talked about. So I want to make sure that you hop over and grab the, for the seller's guide, the starter guide, to be able to create your own product. Again, it's that checklist that's going to walk you through what your possible options could be. It's also going to give you an idea on what a sales funnel should look like. All right, you guys, I appreciate you all so much for listening in. As always, if you haven't already left me a review, I would so appreciate it if you took the time to leave me a rating and review on your favorite podcasting app. Super, super simple and easy to do. You give it a rating and then you write a quick 1-sentence, 2-sentence review. Okay. And from there, I also would love it if you tagged me on Instagram stories like we talked about, and or sent me a DM with the information for those action items that I gave you. All right, you guys, until next time, I will see you all then.